Hello and welcome. It is I, Iron Raiden, back yet again with another movie review, this time reviewing Terror on the Prairie. Now, this is more of an audio review format, of course. I'm actually out and about working and such, so this is how it's going to go, but no one watches this anyway, so who cares? Anyway, yes, so Terror on the Prairie. Now, this is Gina Carano's sort of comeback, if you will, partnering with the Daily Wire. I believe this is their third produced film. So, okay, so they kind of just jump right into it. Going into this, obviously, I wanted to support Gina Carano because, I mean, I had the pleasure of meeting her personally last month at MegaCon. Wonderful woman, despite what anyone will try to tell you. She is an absolute amazing person. You speak to her for just a brief moment, and she just gives off a certain vibe, and she makes you feel great just talking with her. She just gives off an energy that's just absolutely fantastic. So I do feel like she is an absolutely terrific person. And I'm not going to go into this trying to kiss the film's ass. I'm not going to try to, praise it more than it deserves or needs. I'm trying to give a completely objective viewpoint on this, so keep that in mind. Now, of course, some people probably judge me straight away anyway, but regardless, whatever. And I'm not some yearly subscriber to the Daily Wire. I've only subscribed just to watch this movie. I'm not some avid listener or anything like that. I'm not against the Daily Wire. They're fine doing what they're doing, but I'm not some avid listener. So there are no major biases as far as that goes. Now, for what this film is, it is very much yeah, it's a no agenda film. It's very straightforward. It's an isolated Western story. It's watching a situation unfold, watching it escalate, and that's pretty much it. There is some nuance, of course, with the characters, which is something that I do enjoy. I enjoy like good, subtle, nuanced storytelling. Something like a Better Call Saul, something like that, where it's just very low key and very subtle with how it tells its stories. And this very much is that. There's very little music in this film, pretty much like no music at all up until like the very end once the credits start to roll. And I do feel like that actually adds to the style that this film is going for, which it's just, like I said, this isolated story, this isolated situation, and where you just have that natural, raw ambiance of the environment. Like you have shots where you just hear the wind blowing outside, you can hear fire crackling, gunshots and this and that. It's just very, very raw in that sense. And that's one thing that I could take or leave with this film. Obviously, you probably want to have a little bit of a nice like little music soundtrack. Nothing too heavy-handed. Maybe something instrumental. But for what this is and for what it's going for, and also considering it's a very like low-key film, it works. It works for this film. Now, as far as the plot, like, again, there's not a whole lot going on there. It's not until about maybe two-thirds of the way through where you actually kind of understand some of the motivation for the villain in this film, which I will say the antagonist of this film, he is very, very good. He does help carry the film, absolutely so. Just the way he portrays that character and the way he just helps build the tension as the scenes go along. I mean, he absolutely is a standout of this film for sure. Gina herself is actually, yeah, she actually is very, very good in this film, I will say. Like I said, there's not a whole lot like going on as far as like crazy backstory situations, stuff like that, but just the little nuances just in certain key moments here and there as the film goes on. She does a very good job. Even the young actor in the film, the one that plays her son and everything, he's actually quite good himself. He carries himself very well, I will say. And so, yeah, it's just an isolated scenario where, again, this conflict begins and it starts to like just to brew a bit, and it's very much like a bottle film, a film that basically just takes place in one location. There's only maybe like one or two scenes outside that with her husband where he's off and stuff like that. Very, very brief, but other than that, it's pretty much an isolated film, which I do tend to enjoy films like that, where it's just contained and you're just watching a situation unfold and watching everything play out and just see how, you get from point A to point B, and just seeing how certain characters get out of certain situations. And so that's what I like about this film. Like I said, it's just watching everything unfold. And so, with that said, like I said, there's not a whole lot of craziness to this film. Like I said, it's very raw. It is a bit hardcore in certain instances. I wouldn't say too hardcore though. Like I said, it's an R-rated film for sure, but I've definitely seen a lot worse. I've seen crazier shit than this. It's very, certain, like at the start of the film, you'll get one particular intense shot that's probably the most intense of the film. I mean, you do get some good violent moments in this film, but like I said, nothing outside of what you've seen of maybe like your average, Tarantino film or something like that. As far as the look of the film looks high budget, and I do feel like that helps because obviously it's a very low key film. Obviously, it's you're not having some big major set pieces or anything like that. Like, 'cause I think they filmed it in Montana, and so it's just just open land. But it's very authentic looking though, as far as the clothing, as far as the cabin setup and stuff like that. And like I said, just seeing that with the cinematography, like you get certain wide shots of the outside, and there's snow and everything, and the snow looks absolutely gorgeous in this film. Like I said, the cinematography was very, very well done, and like I said, it just feels very authentic. And so, considering their budget, considering what they're working with, all of that stuff, I mean, it looks very, very good. And so, yeah, so with this film, like I said, there's not really, again, it's a film you just kind of go in and experience. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a film you go back and rewatch a whole bunch, like, oh my gosh, I'm just absolutely blown away by it. I wouldn't quite say that. I will say this probably, at best, like a yearly watch type of film. Like, I could see myself maybe watching this around, maybe like the fall time, winter time, something like that. It just feels like one of those seasonal type of movies you can kind of, throw in, or, throw on. I don't know if they'll ever do like some sort of physical release at any point. I don't know. But yeah, it's something you could probably go back to around that certain time. Because like I said, with the snow setting and all that, and just that Western feel, it just gives off that type of vibe. I would say generally, if this was released theatrically, I would say this would make for a solid matinee film, a film you go in like on a day off. You just go and you experience it for like the next like 90 minutes or so, and you just take in a situation, just watch everything unfold, take in the performances, and just go along for the ride. That I think that's a very fair assessment of this film, because like I said, I'm not here to try to kiss this film's ass or anything like that. Like I said, it's not some perfect film. It's just kind of watching, like just going in and experiencing it, and just watching that situation unfold. And like I said, for what it was, I actually did quite enjoy myself. Like I said, just watching the performances and just taking in the vibe of the film. And like I said, it just considering what they have to work with, considering it's very low budget, it's a streaming film. It's only the Daily Wire's third movie. It's Gina's comeback. Just it's like a showcase film, if you will, and it did everything it needed to do. And it really need to do anything more than this. And like I said, it just worked. It just works for what it is. And as a general score, like I don't really like giving these 1 out of 10 scores necessarily, but if I give it a fair score, I'd say probably it's about a good solid 7. It's not some big blow away film, but it's not a terrible film. Like if there's a terrible film, it'd be like, yeah, a completely different story. But for what it is and for what you're presented with, like all things considered going into it, I think it's a solid film that I would definitely recommend checking out and just experiencing it, and just like I said, just going with the flow of the film. And like I said, it's everything it needed to be, and it really needed to be anything more than that. Now going forward, films they produce, obviously maybe they'll get higher budgets, and seeing whatever Pagina tries to work on next, we shall see. But for what this is, I give it credit. It's definitely a good solid film, and I do recommend experiencing it for yourself. So just try to give my fair estimate on this film. And yeah, thank you very much for watching if you did. I am Iron Raven, and I am out.